I'm so glad I'm back and we are ready to talk about breathing, relaxing, imagining, and our dreams with Michelle. So welcome, Michelle, to the Gyrl podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me. I've been excited. We scheduled this so long ago. It's great to be here.
I know I always feel so bad when people say, well, it's been a long time since we scheduled this. And I'm still juggling because I work a job during the day. And so I still struggle with like having just
Yeah.
that one set schedule. So like I try to get people in advance so they get the spaces because a lot of people like reach out, which is a blessing. I'm so excited that
Yeah.
people want to actually come on this show and talk to me. But I try to get people in like, that contact me earlier so that they get in first and then kind of do it in that order. So
No,
anyhow.
it made me feel special. I was like, wow, this is a big deal. I had this on the
Awesome.
calendar. I'm like, I'm not going to miss this.
I like it. I like it. Well, why don't we get started with you telling the audience who you are and what you do?
Sure. So my name's Michelle, and I founded Michelle's Sanctuary about 6 years ago. At the time, had worked as a touring musician and a performer, and I had insomnia, and it was horrible. And everyone in the entertainment industry said, just take some pills, just get some Ambien and go for it, as long as you can keep working. And it just wasn't the lifestyle I wanted. So I sat down one day in the park with my dog, and I said, what do I want for my life? And I thought, I just want ease. I want to wake up, go to the dog park, create things, practice yoga, and just have a steady balancing the things that are actually most important to survival: sleep, eating well, mental wellness.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I had discovered sleep stories and meditations, which were really like new. It was before the Calm app, it was before all of these meditation apps that are now really
Mm-hmm.
popular. And I just started creating stories and meditations. And my entire mission was, it's time to dream away. So to
Mm-hmm.
dream away as in sleep, but also to dream away, to finding your life's purpose, connecting with your inner voice, and living the life that you want and not the one that society's told you to, not the one that other people are doing and they're not happy. So
Right.
I now I create content for apps, and I have a podcast, Michelle Sanctuary, but they're all sleep-based, imaginative-based, and healing.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Okay. All right. So before we talk more about Michelle's Sanctuary, let's talk about why you decided to focus on sleep. Now I know you mentioned you started the beginning where people wanted you to take Ambien, take something to put you to sleep. But don't you find when you take like a sleep aid, then it's like you're all like dreaming crazy and it's not really peaceful. It's more like erratic.
It really is. And I've been tracking my sleep now for my own research for about 2 years now. And I noticed the rare times before a big trip, if I took even just a little Ambien, I never got a full sleep cycle. Like, it's a
Mm-hmm.
hypnotic drug. So I was happy and I was unconscious, but I wasn't actually refreshed or having deep sleep. And the next day I felt really off.
Mm-hmm.
I natural things like magnesium and supplements, I think are really good for me personally. Everyone should consult their doctor for that. But it's not the same as actually being relaxed and fixing your sleep cycle, and not just falling asleep, staying asleep. That's still
Mm-hmm.
insomnia. And that was my big thing too. I'd wake up 4 a.m, ready to
Mm-hmm.
go, and really need another 4 or 5 hours of sleep. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's where these meditation stories really helped, as a way that I dreamt better, I slept better, and I felt rested as opposed to crazy the next day.
Yes, because like I know, oh my gosh, it just escaped my mind, the supplement that everybody, melatonin.
Yeah.
So I can't take melatonin because it gives me a headache. Like I've tried like on 2 occasions because everybody's like, get some melatonin. And I woke up and my head was just like, bam, bam, bam. And I was just like, this is not peaceful. Like,
No, it's awful. When I first took it, I had hot flashes, and I was looking up. I'm like, is this normal? Does this happen with women hormonally?
right.
I can take it now, like a really small supplement, but no,
Mm-hmm.
all of these things do have some kind of side effect or other unintended consequence that you're going to get.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, no thanks to that. I mean, I am the type of person that when I fall asleep, because I am up pretty early, like in the morning, and I generally am just going, throughout the day. Like when I close my eyes, I am fortunate enough that like I sleep until like my alarm wakes me up, or on the weekends until I wake myself up or whatever. But like I live with a person, my husband, who cannot, like he suffers from like he has insomnia, or he'll try to like sleep, he'll try to take something, but then he'll take it, and then he's still up looking in the middle of the night, and
Oh no.
he's like, I've been up since 2 o'clock. I was just listening to you sleep.
Oh my gosh, that's the worst feeling. But also, you're a sleep hero that you also sleep through him being up, because sometimes
Yeah,
just having somebody up
yeah.
is enough to interrupt your sleep.
I was like, I didn't know you were up. So, I mean,
I've been on both sides of that. I definitely prefer the sleeping side.
exactly. So, um, yeah, I mean, so let's talk about like some of the meditations and some of the stories that you offer. Can you tell us about them?
Yeah, I try and do absolutely everything. I try to base my stories like our dreams. In our dreams, anything's
Mhm.
possible, and you believe it when
Yes.
you wake up. You're like, oh, I was flying, and then I was
Yes.
swimming with a mermaid, and then I was in the best health of my life. So I try actually to just go with that and have like a typical guided meditation, hypnosis that gets you into a state where you're kind of in between those worlds of waking and dreaming, and make it playful. I think one of the biggest issues people have falling asleep is the pressure. It's become a priority. So they stress about it as if they're going on a job interview or something. And it's sleep. It's not supposed to make you feel that way.
Yeah.
So my hardcore insomniacs that listen, they finally have created this sleep routine where it feels like a vacation. I'm like, you owe it to
Mm.
yourself. You made it through another day in a very chaotic world right now.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
take advantage and spoil yourself. Like everything else can wait. Go on
Mhm.
vacation. So I've covered everything from Costa Rica hot springs to
Oh,
going to
nice.
an igloo under
Mhm.
the northern lights. I actually my self for the past few months, I've been saving flowers from the Trader Joe's dumpster pile. They throw out nice flowers and just come.
Oh, uh-huh.
And so I have been making these beautiful bouquets and giving them to people in my
Uh-huh.
neighborhood or friends. And I wrote a story about it last week about walking through the city on a rainy, cold winter night. And you just discover this bag of flowers and go
Mhm.
back and sit by the fire and assemble them and fall asleep smelling these beautiful flowers. I'm like, they're going to think I'm a weirdo for reading the story. And it's doing so well, you
Yeah,
know?
but yeah, if you think about it, it's very pleasant.
Mhm.
It's something that you would want to like happen to you, right? And it just is peaceful and calming. And then I think that,
Yeah.
like you said, I love stories. I love reading stories. I love listening to like I love listening to stories. We listen to stories at night anyway. So like I am always going, to bed with like some imagining something, because a very well told story, you can see it. And so I
Yeah.
think there's something to that, just being able to ease into like your dreams. And one thing you said earlier was that, people treating sleep like it's like almost like a task or
Mhm.
something you have to. Now, I personally am like looking forward to like going to sleep at night. Like, I'm like,
Yeah,
oh my
me
gosh,
too.
I can't wait until I can't wait. I can't wait to see you later, bed. I mean, and so when I get in the bed and I get to go to sleep, I'm like really excited about it, because like I don't sleep a long time. I mean, but my body's gotten, maybe you can tell me. My body's
Yeah, I'm
gotten
curious.
accustomed
Yeah.
to, so like I probably go to bed at like 12:30, and at the latest 1 o'clock, like during the work week. And I get up
Okay.
at 6. I wake up at 6 o'clock. And even like on the weekends, if we stay up until like 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, I still wake up. My body will wake me up at like 7:40. And it's like, well, you're up, girl. Because my brain, my mind will start to race about the things that I need to do. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, just get up because you got stuff to do. But I mean, but when I do try, if I go to bed earlier, so if I go to bed, I go, oh, I'm going upstairs, I'm going to sleep early tonight. If I go to bed at like 10 o'clock or 10:30, then I'm tired for the bulk of the day the next day.
Oh, I mean, I think that's what I try and tell my listeners too. It's your body knows. Like you don't need me
Mhm.
to, you don't need any expert to know you. It's based on how you feel.
Yeah.
And there are so many arguing studies and so much of it's just consumerism and they're trying to sell products. But
Mhm.
the ones that are like, you need 8 hours or you need seven.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know the right level of cycles. I know for me, the worst is if I get woken up in that REM state when I'm dreaming, I feel like horrible the whole
Mhm,
day, whether
mhm,
it's a nap or sleeping
mhm.
at night. So there are certain times in your cycle, but it sounds like you're just programmed at this point to work, to wake up at a time and feel ready to go.
Yes.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, but I have to tell you, last night I woke up at like 3 o'clock because I needed a bio break, and I was actually getting ready to do it in my dream.
That happens to me all the time.
Oh my God, there is no worse dream than like you're getting ready. And it's like you're always in, and I'm talking about a number one for anybody listening, like a number one. But you know how like relaxing it is when in your dream when you finally get there and you're like,
Yes.
and
But
then
then
you
in
like
the, yeah, then you're like, but wait, it still didn't work.
you're like, but like last night I jumped up so fast and
Oh
I
my
didn't even
gosh.
know I could move that quickly. I like jumped out of the bed and I like looked because I was like, let me make sure. My husband was like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, I thought I was using the bathroom in my dream. And so then I went in there and I like sat down and used the bathroom and I was thinking to myself, man, that's crazy.
Yeah. I went through most of my life thinking I was telling my body what to do. Like I'm in
Uh-huh.
control and like, I'm a perfectionist, which I'm trying to work on. But then I realized actually our body's keeping us and our body's telling us all along. And the dream world is like the number one place where we realize, oh, oops, we didn't know so much after all.
Yes. So I mean, if you are open at talking about dreams, right? Like, how do you think, like, what's the correlation between, your dreams and like the type of sleep? If you go to sleep at a certain, is it based on like the hours of sleep you get, or can you just go into a state of like dreaming immediately? Because like now when I'm gonna just use, like, for me, I may not start dreaming immediately, but I can fall asleep really fast once I let my mind relax. My husband can start dreaming instantly. He'll be like,
Oh,
oh,
wow.
I was driving down the such and such in the convertible and the wind was blowing, and like he's already in a story.
Well, typically for a lot of us, which is the case with you, obviously, and same for me, when we usually go to sleep, our body's craving that deep sleep the most.
Mhm,
And so it
mhm.
usually tries in our sleep cycles to get it out in the beginning. So it's like we get that restoration. And then if we keep cycling through other
Oh,
cycles. So in terms of dreaming right away, naps are a time most people would have that because they're kind of just in that light state. They're not going into a deep sleep.
mhm.
And lucid dreaming, I do hope your husband's getting some deep sleep after what you've mentioned with his
Right.
his sleep issues. The fact he is going into that dream
Mhm.
state right away means he's not getting that deeper sleep first.
Ah, okay. Look, I'm about to take this note so I can tell him. Because you just sort of think about that because I'm like, man, how can you be already talking about you're driving down the highway in a convertible when we were just talking?
Now, what's interesting too is I've been experimenting with length of stories and meditations, and a colleague of mine did like a 3 hour meditation, and I usually just listen in the beginning, fall asleep, and then it's over.
Mhm.
And a lot of people like these long runs. For me, I was still listening in the REM state. I started having crazy dreams. I'm like, I can't listen to somebody guiding me. Once I'm in my dream state, my dreams want to do their thing. They do not want to listen to
Right.
somebody else. And so
Yeah.
I personally didn't have the best experience, but all my listeners want that like
Yeah.
5, 8 hours of me talking to them, which is like a really, it's a great balance of trust that they trust
Mhm,
whatever's coming out of my mouth when they're half asleep. But
mhm.
for me, it didn't work so well.
Well, I think we definitely need to try it in our house because we do listen to like horror podcasts
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
at night. And I mean, people are always like, wait, how can you listen to that before you go to sleep? And I'm like, I don't know. There's just something, it's just the storytelling for me. Like I
Right.
can, it's like watching a movie. Like I can envision what's happening in all the characters. But I think like I'm going to like we're going to go to the sanctuary because I'm going to let my husband experience it because I think that because he will continue to listen to the stories. And that's a lot of times why he's still up because he's like, yeah, like normally like I'll wake up and see what I like to do is if I wake up in the middle of the night, like I'll just start back listening to a few stories and then I'll drop back off. He is like, no, I have to turn it down because if I don't, then I'm still like listening He's like, I'll
Right.
just keep listening. He's like, I was up till like 2 o'clock because I just kept listening to
Well, most of my listeners are out usually in the first 10 to 15 minutes they fall asleep, but I do have
Mhm.
the ones that listen through. As a creator, sometimes I feel like, oh gosh, what a waste. 30 minutes of this is just going to go to them sleeping. They won't hear it. But that's the trick, is finding something that's not too engaging. And I understand horror
Right.
over the news. Like, so many people
Yeah.
watch the news on TV before bed. That is like
Mhm.
reality hitting it. You don't want
Yeah,
that. Horror, if you're listening to it and you know it's a story, you can
exactly.
disassociate from it and just enjoy it.
Exactly. And that's what I always tell people. I'm like, because I said it's like story. If you like stories and you like reading, it's just being able to like imagine and put your imagination to work. And I said, I've like over the last like 3 years, I just fallen in love with like, listening to stories being told on like podcasts and things that nature, even sometimes more so than watching like a movie on TV, because I get to come up with the characters. I get to see them, in a
Right.
way. And if someone's a really good, like they do a really great job of visually describing who the people are, so then you're like, oh my gosh, I see them. So
Yeah. And what I decided to do, which I work for different apps and they do their own thing, but for my own
oh,
personal work, I always write in the second person. So it's like you walk through, the
yes.
fields. I was really obsessed with choose your own adventure books when I was a kid.
Oh my
And
gosh,
and those
yeah.
are written in the second
Hmm.
person too, where you actually feel like, yeah, I'm in command. I'm going to figure
Hmm.
out. And I really want everyone to have that experience because it's so personal.
Yes.
Falling to sleep and your dream life. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just there as a guide to
Yeah.
say, hey, this is how we're going to get there.
And I imagine, being in the sanctuary is something that you can look forward to. Like you mentioned, people might fall off in the first 30 minutes, but just imagine like if you went, you can start it back. You can start over, or you can, go a little bit further down to get to a
Yeah.
new place, and then you get to witness and experience something more. So I definitely think that what you're doing is really cool. And there is something to like hearing someone tell a story and put you in a place of peace versus just like when you're meditating, it's just like the birds chirping, or
Right.
something like that, and you're like, these birds aren't in this room. So
And sometimes, sometimes the meditation itself is triggering for some people because
mhm.
like the big marketing behind meditation is always quiet your mind, just quiet. And people are like, I'm
Yeah.
not quiet. I'm getting more and more thoughts.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be that. I love Eckhart Tolle. He always says one conscious breath is a meditation. That's it. So just take one breath
Mm-hmm.
you're aware of, you just meditated. And take
Yeah.
away that pressure too, because that's the same thing with people who
Yes.
have pressure for sleep. Meditation
Mhm.
adds another pressure. Like, it should be
Yeah.
approachable for everyone and customized to what works for them. This is not like a one size fits all.
Yeah, I mean, and what you said, that's really true, because I think when I first started meditating, I was like, okay, wait, I need to quiet my mind. But then it was like right when I would try, my mind would just start going like
Uh-huh.
just a mile a minute. I'm like, no, no, quiet mind, quiet. And if I was doing a 10-minute one, it'd take me like 8 minutes to actually like get there and be
Right.
able to like really have gotten to the place of quiet in my like mind and stop it from like thinking. But I mean, got to find that thing that works for you, right?
Yeah, and that's why I branched out and started doing the more story focused. I launched a new channel this month, Michelle's Meditation Sanctuary, which is going back to those original roots of meditation
Hmm.
and healing. But some people just want the story, and that's what's approachable for
Yeah.
them. So that's cool. Like, it's not my job to judge or prescribe or do anything. It's like, this is what I'm creating, this is what I'm offering, and find
Hmm.
what works for you.
Hmm. You're meeting people where they are.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
and
Exactly. Because
that's,
anything, the number one thing is getting people to realize they should take that time for themselves. And that's a
yeah.
big thing.
Yes.
So many people never do that. And they
Yep.
wonder why they feel sick and they're tired and stressed, or they're not even
Hmm.
connected to their feelings because they're just
Hmm.
go, go, go.
Yep. Now, what would you say are some of the more popular stories on your in the sanctuary?
I know a lot of people are drawn to cozy places in rain stories or winter stories where
Mm.
there's cabins.
Mhm.
I've done a lot of time travel because a lot of people don't want to be in the 2020s. So I'm like, cool, I'll time travel. Let's go. Where you guys want to go? So I've gone back to like a prairie and you have, just a cabin and nothing. Like it's just silence.
Oh.
I live in New York, so I did some New York stories going back to like the
Mm-hmm.
1960s New York and just
Mm-hmm.
cozy brownstones. And I do fantasy stuff too. During one of the crazy times in the past 2 years, I did a
Mm-hmm.
futuristic home where it was
Oh.
just a
Oh.
world where everyone had their needs met. Like just imagine on this planet, everyone's needs are met, the basic needs,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
how peaceful it was. And to have this home that takes care of you. And the moment you walk through the door, the home knows what you need.
Mm.
So I just try
Very
and be as
interesting.
free form as possible.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, so mentioned the, the pandemic world in which we live now. Did you see an uptick in people coming and subscribing, like when the pandemic started, or like?
Yeah, it was, before I had been balancing two careers.
Mhm.
It's another unusual job. I was a cheese educator. So I taught people how to make cheese
Oh,
and ran
nice.
these events. And it was kind of like just inviting people in New York into my kitchen. It was at a shop downtown.
Uh-huh.
And I loved it. And I was like, am I going to launch my own company with this or am I going to push the sanctuary? And bam, COVID. And sanctuary took off. I mean, it
Mhm.
was a need. And people who never considered
Yeah,
meditating or sleep stories were stuck at home and
yeah.
connected. And apps have been booming and podcasts. So
Hmm.
there's awareness. There wasn't awareness before like there is
Yeah.
now.
And I can imagine that people, just needed a place to find like a reset, or like a break from the day to day. And of course, at the time when everybody was just adjusting to being home all the time, right? Were
Right.
you getting a lot of requests for certain things then? Like what, I guess, because I'm just interested in wondering, like, what were the type of stories that people were interested in at such a time of uncertainty?
Well, actually, in terms of meditations, a lot of people, I had a lot of essential workers and healthcare workers wanting stuff that was just very much to getting through crisis, getting through uncertainty. And so I would
Hmm.
develop just straight up meditations to handle that and to remind people that they're loved. A lot of
Hmm.
loneliness. So one of the things that
Hmm.
really took off for me is incorporating companions and
Yeah.
pets and stories so that you're traveling with a
Yeah.
friend you haven't seen, or
Mhm.
reunions. I did this one where there's a covered bridge and you get to reunite once a year in this special town. You get to reunite with anyone you want at this dinner beneath the moon in a covered bridge in Vermont. And so those kind of stories where people could invite and change it up. So one night,
Mhm.
maybe you miss your best friend, and it could
Mhm.
even be someone who's passed away because there's been a lot of death, honestly, the past
Right.
few years.
Yeah.
Everyone's been touched by it. I've had people when their family was in ICU and COVID units asking what story to play that their, family member liked
Mm.
listening, and they would play it over Zoom.
Mhm.
So, it's just an interesting time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's finding the beauty in it. That to me has been my purpose. And to remind
Yeah.
everyone is there is still beauty. Like go sit and watch nature. It's still
Mhm.
going on. It's still
Mhm.
there,
Yeah.
So reminding all of my listeners of that. And one of the biggest compliments I think I've ever received in my life was a doctor who listened. And she said it wasn't just affecting her imagine things before sleep, but all of a sudden she was aware throughout her day. And she was like, what would Michelle think of this? And she would start looking around at beautiful things to remind herself, and the stress of her
Yeah.
job. And she's like, there are beautiful things here.
Yes. Oh, wow. I love that, because it's like it serves as like a comfort, and then also it helps to heal, and just
Yeah.
and to help people find, calm and soothing opportunities, and just an appreciation, almost a gratitude for the beauty that still exists around us.
Yeah, because we can't control these really big things that are heavy and
Yeah.
on us all the time, but we can control our entire experience around that and where we're focusing our energy.
Yes. I love that. Kudos to you. Now, do you still teach people how to make cheese now at
it
all?
it came back. I had a nice 3 month run and then Omicron hit. And so it was back to the sanctuary, which was
Mhm.
fine. I've fallen in love with winter, I kept Christmas lights
Mhm.
up and have an indoor fire pit and was writing away. But I think it's coming back within the next month. So
Okay.
hopefully.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that sounds pretty awesome. Okay, so what advice would you give anyone out here listening or watching us, as it relates to I think maybe taking that first step to, because sometimes people are like, I don't know if that's for me. But if someone's out there like, contemplating, maybe should I try this, because I'm interested, but I don't know if it's a thing for me. What would you say, to take that leap?
Well, my releases are on Sundays, and that's for a reason because people get those Sunday scaries. So I would say choose
Yes.
Sunday as a day before you start a week to say, you know what, tonight, Sunday night is going to be my sleep vacation. So
Mhm,
whatever makes you feel good, taking a shower, taking a bath, having a glass of wine, whatever it is, do that, incorporate it, get
mhm.
in your bed. You want to journal, you want whatever it is going to just set the mood that this is my night, and then
Yeah,
just put on a story and see how it goes.
I like
And
it.
think about all of us, not all of us, some people hate traveling, but that's a very small small minority of the population, but
Mhm,
most of us have had some kind of travel dream,
mhm.
that someplace we've wanted to go. I guarantee I have at least one story that's going to hit that need for adventure. So
Yeah,
whether it's a beach or a cozy cabin, there's going to be something available, and take that vacation. Just do it.
I like this. This is exciting. I was just like, what vacation am I going to take? I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. Well, Michelle, tell everyone out there how they can find your stories and meditations.
Sure. So any podcast subscription service, it's Michelle's Sanctuary. YouTube is where most of my listeners go, so it's Michelle's Sanctuary there. And michellesanctuary.co will show all the apps that I work with. I'm also on Insight Timer if anyone uses that.
Okay. And if anyone has a request or wants to contact you regarding a story that they'd love for you to write, where can they reach out to you?
Yeah, they can email me at michellesanctuary@gmail.com.
Fantastic. All right. This is awesome. Well, I'm definitely going to have to follow up with you and let you know, like when I bring it into the room and let my husband listen and see if he like falls asleep, if he stays asleep.
Yeah, and even if even he's like, I don't want to listen to this girl. If you can just even introduce him to this whole world of
Mhm.
sleep stories, because there are different voices, there are different stories, but it's just a really cool tool to have.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Well, thank you. All right. So before I let you go, though, I have to do three things with Michelle, and then we're going to leave the audience with a few takeaways from our discussion today. One, how do you start the day?
It depends on the season. Now we're getting into spring. In the winter, I take my sweet little time getting up. I usually will get up and get to the park with my dog and
Mhm.
journal. So I'll just spend like the first half hour of the day setting my day straight by journaling and being in nature and making sure my dog has a good time.
Awesome. All right, let's see. What do you do when you have a day off?
Oh goodness. My mind is always creative. So I don't really give myself a day off because it's always working. But I love the simple things,
Mhm.
going to the beach and watching a sunset and swimming in the ocean, or spending time with my niece and spoiling her. She's 3
Mhm.
now. And just really connecting with people I love and doing something simple.
Awesome. And now I am really excited to hear this answer. How do you end your days?
I end my days. I kind of do have a routine. I take all my supplements, my magnesium, I burn a candle
Mhm.
in the bedroom. I do the gratitude journal. And
Mhm.
I also this year started a happy thoughts jar. So I'll just write on a few slips of paper
Uh-huh.
and stick it in my mason jar.
Mhm.
And I am all about just luxuriating, and I will listen to a few other creators with their meditations before going to sleep.
Awesome. All right. Okay. So before I let you leave, let's give me two to three things that you'd like the audience to take away from our conversation today.
I would like you to take away that sleep is your vacation every single day. It doesn't cost you anything. So focus on that. My new mission with my new channel is to imagine better. So much we are using our imagination to worry. And it's so
Mm,
normalized to
mhm.
escalate to stress, to get into social media arguments about it. I would like everyone to pause every time that happens and just say to yourself, imagine better. And just see what happens when you imagine what's better for you. Like what do you
Mhm.
actually want instead of dwelling on that? Um, and
Love
to
that.
just the third thing, I honor your journey. Like, this is your journey and you're going to
Mhm.
find what resonates with you. I just want everyone on the planet, it would be a dream if everyone could connect with their needs, not
Mhm.
bypass them, not ignore it, and realize they deserve to be met, because there's so much noise out there saying just to ignore them. And sleep is one of those things we get told to just hustle and sleep when you die.
Mhm.
Sleep now, take care of yourself now. This is the
Mhm.
moment that we have.
Mhm. Awesome. I love those. All three great takeaways, Michelle. Well, thank you so much for coming and spending some time with me. You can always come back.
Thanks for having me. It was well worth the wait, and I am so glad it happened.
So awesome. Well, stay tuned, everyone. I'll be right back.